So, good morning, children. Today we will learn the poem My Shadow from Unit 3. Okay, so here is an interesting question. Do you know whenever there is light, someone follows you? Have you ever wondered who it is? Whenever there is light, someone follows you. There's nobody with you, there is no friend, nobody is there, but still, when there is light, someone follows you. And have you ever wondered who it is? Yes, it is our shadow. So you can hear shadow here. So a shadow follows us when there is light. But in the darkness, if there is no light, you cannot see your shadow. Now let's read and enjoy the poem My Shadow. I have a little shadow that goes in and out with me. And what can be the use of him is more than I can see. I repeat it. I have a little shadow that goes in and out with me, and what can be the use of him is more than I can see. So, in these lines, the poet is saying to us that there is the poet assumes that there is a little boy in the poem, and the little boy is saying that I have a little shadow, and it goes in and out. Means whenever he goes and you inside or outside the shadow always follows him. Okay, and the child doesn't know what is the use of shadow. The only thing he knows is that he can see his shadow, but he doesn't know what is the use of the shadow. I have a little shadow that goes in and out with me, and what can be the use of him is more than I can see. Okay, next stanza. He is very, very like me from the hills up to the head, and I see him jump before me when I jump into my bed. He is very, very like me from the hills up to the head, and I see him jump before me when I jump into my bed. So, in these lines, the little boy says that his shadow is just like him from hills up to the head. Hills means the lower part of the feet. Okay, the backside you will find the lower part of the uh, foot hills. In Hindi it is called Eri, and in Manipur it is called Kuning. Okay, he is very very like me. Means his shadow is just like him from head to heels, and when he goes to bed at night, the shadow jumps before him. Like when the child tries to jump into his bed at night to sleep, the shadow also jumps with him. Okay, the shadow jumps before him. He is very, very like me from the heels up to the head, and I see him jump before me when I jump into my bed. Okay, next stanza. The funniest thing about him is the way he likes to grow, not at all like proper children, which is always very slow. The funniest thing about him is the way he likes to grow, not at all like proper children, which is always very slow. And the funniest thing about the shadow is that he doesn't grow like proper children. Like means normally children they grow very slowly. They grow very slowly. Okay, small baby to young child, then to adult like this. So children they grow very slowly, but shadows they grow differently. Like sometimes they will become taller and sometimes they will become very short. Okay. So next stanza is for he sometimes shoots up taller like an Indian rubber ball, and he sometimes gets so little that there is none of him at all. It means that sometimes our shadows they grow very tall like a bouncing Indian rubber ball, and sometimes our shadows becomes very short in such a way that nothing of him is seen. Okay, see, this is rubber ball. When the rubber ball bounces up, it becomes tall, and when the rubber ball bounces down, it becomes short. Like this, our shadows, they also sometimes they become tall, and sometimes they become very short. In the morning and in the evening time, our shadows they become tall, and in the noon time, and in the noon, our shadows are very short. Okay, so this is the way the shadows grow. Okay, for he sometimes shoots up taller like an Indian rubber ball, and he sometimes gets so little that there is none of him at all. Okay, next line. One morning, very early before the sun, I was up. I rose and found the shining dew on every buttercup. Okay, so here the child says that one morning he woke up very early before the sun, means before sunlight. He woke up and he found that the uh, the buttercups, the yellow flowers. Buttercups means it is a type of yellow flowers, and he found shining dews on the yellow flowers. Means in the early morning you will find some drops of water on leaves and flowers. Those drops of water are called dews. So one morning the child woke up very early, even before the sunrise, and he found that the he found dews on every flower, yellow buttercup flowers. Okay, see, this is dew means drops of water seen in the morning on leaves and flowers. In Hindi it is called Os, in Manipur it is called Likla, and these are yellow buttercup flowers. Okay, so when he woke up early in the morning, he saw the dews on the yellow flowers. Okay, but next stanza. But my lazy little shadow, like an errant sleepyhead, had stayed at home before me and was fast asleep in bed. Okay, so one day when he woke up in the morning before the sunrise, he saw the flowers, he saw the dews on the flowers and all, but but the shadow was not seen in the morning. The shadow was not seen in the morning. The shadow, it seems to the child that the shadow was sleeping, still sleeping in bed, because the shadow was lazy, a sleepyhead, like a lazy fellow. The shadow seemed to be sleeping in bed, and he couldn't see his shadow. This is the thing what the child is thinking, but actually he couldn't see the shadow in the early morning because there was no light, there was no sunlight. Okay, so in absence of sunlight you cannot see your shadow. Okay, so here the meaning of the word errand means bad, bad, bad. Okay, so the last stanza. But my lazy little shadow, like an errant sleepy head, had stayed at home before me and was fast asleep in bed. Okay, so this was the poem. See, sleepy head means lazy or feeling sleepy, feeling very lazy to get up, feeling sleepy. Okay, sometimes we feel sleepy, we feel lazy to get up. This is called sleepy head. And the poem was written by whom? Robert Louis Stevenson. Okay, here how will you pronounce this name? R-O-B-E-R-T, Robert, and L-O-U-I-S, Louis. Though S is here, S should be silent. So we will pronounce it as Louis. Robert Louis Stevenson. Okay, Stevenson, a poem by Robert Louis Stevenson, and he is a very famous poet from Scotland. Okay, so he is the poet of this poem, My Shadow.